Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for coming today. Welcome to day 3 of our financial aid virtual workshop series, where we will be going over the Seattle Promise Program. So, with us here today is Lee Westrick from the Seattle Colleges. He is an outreach specialist working with Garfield as well as Cleveland, and he has been working out of Garfield for a number of years now to help students access the Seattle Promise Program. So I will let him go ahead and start his presentation, but if you could give him your undivided attention, that would be great. And then if there's any questions, there will be a way to communicate or a slide to show how you can communicate with him moving forward. So thank you so much for coming, Lee, and take it away.
Awesome. Thank you, Ms. Tiffany. Again, my name is Lee Westrick. As Ms. Tiffany has already mentioned, I'm an outreach specialist. I work with North Seattle College, South Seattle College, and Seattle Central College for the Seattle Promise Program. So a couple of things. The Seattle Promise Program specifically is a college scholarship and success program. That means that we can provide for students up to 2 years or 90 credits of free tuition at the Seattle colleges for a Seattle Public School graduate. That means that if you are interested in attending a local college, so North Seattle College, Seattle Central College, or South Seattle College, you are eligible for up to 2 years of free tuition, regardless of the following. So it doesn't matter what your GPA might be, what your family income might be, your current citizenship status or residency status might be. You don't even need a social security number to join the Seattle Promise. All that matters is that you graduate from a Seattle public high school. So if you graduate from Garfield, you're going to be eligible for this program, considering a couple of things that are going to be requirements as you move through them. And I'll go and touch on those as we go through this. What most people are very familiar with the Seattle Promise program is our tuition support. That means that if you are interested in participating, right, if you are an eligible student, you graduate, you make your way through all of the steps that are part of Seattle Promise, you are guaranteed that you are going to pay $0 tuition at the Seattle colleges, regardless of any type of financial situation your family might be in. We also offer some college readiness application assistance if you decide that you want to come to the colleges to do a transfer degree. We also help students with academic support. So if you need some additional assistance like tutoring and things like that, we know where the resources are for you to access at the colleges to ensure that you're doing your best, you're doing the best possible job you can in your academic classes. We also offer financial aid assistance. So every year a student is required to complete a financial aid application. If that's the federal application, so the FAFSA, or the state application, which is the WASFA, we're also available to help you walk your way through that. Additionally, we have advising built into our program through our retention specialists. So that means that you always know what classes you're taking as you move through the program. What's really important to us is that you are making your way through your plan of study and taking the correct classes rather than just collecting credits that aren't working towards a particular degree pathway. I am one of a number of outreach specialists who is based in the schools. So the people that you see before you are people who are installed at each of the high schools around the Seattle public school system. We're here to help you out, to ensure that you understand what is required of you as you apply for Seattle Promise and the different college admissions, making sure that you complete that financial aid application, FAFSA or WASFA, ensuring that you understand what's required of you to register and complete classes at the Seattle colleges, as well as attend the Readiness Academy and Summer Bridge event that happens later in the summer. All of these steps are required to be a part of Seattle Promise, and we're here to make sure you understand what those requirements look like, what's being asked of you as you work your way through the process. I've mentioned this a few times, but we are only available in the Seattle Colleges district. That means North Seattle College, Seattle Central College, and South Seattle College. You might see a couple of smaller locations that have been highlighted on this particular map, and that is because we have a couple of satellite campuses that students are also welcome to take classes at, as they are usually dedicated to a very particular type of program. So in Ballard, we have the Seattle Maritime Academy if you're interested in something like our Marine Deck Technology program. We have the Wood Technology Center in the Central District if you're interested in any of the sort of carpentry-based programs that we have at Seattle colleges. And we also have a health education center in Beacon Hill if you're interested in pursuing a pathway that is specifically geared towards health or medical-based programs. Of those programs, so those are just a few programs of which we have over 130 to choose from in the Seattle Colleges District in 8 areas of study. So under the art, design, and graphics program, there are multiple different types of programs. There are things like the graphic design or the videography or the photography programs that are all available underneath the art and design and graphic area. We have similar numbers of programs that run through business and accounting, culinary and hospitality and wine, education and human services, health and medical, again, oftentimes housed at our Beacon Hill campus. We also have science, technology, engineering, and math. Those are a lot of different types of programs that are under one little umbrella that span the length of a number of different types of programs, from professional technical to transfer-based programs that you could participate in. If you are interested in working and you have a very specific career that you would like to be trained for, we can talk a lot about the skilled trades and technical training that are available at the colleges. This is an area that is becoming more and more popular as more of our students are interested in very particular types of careers. We also, again, have a more basic sort of generalized social sciences and humanities and language program for our students who think that they might be headed in the social science or the helping fields area. There are a number of different types of programs, as we've gone over, that sort of fall into 2 different types of tracks as you move your way through the colleges. Many of our students, most of our students, I would say, are still attending Seattle Promise and the Seattle colleges to obtain what's known as a transfer degree. This is oftentimes what people are most familiar with when they think of a community college, and we'll go into kind of how that breaks down in just a second. We also have professional technical programs, which are intended to train you for a very particular hands-on career in which you directly apply the education that you have used or you have learned at the colleges in the field of study that you are pursuing to move through your career in that very, very specific field. The way that ends up breaking down is that if you attend Seattle Promise as a transfer student, so you are looking to have a transfer degree and associates to transfer, you attend Seattle College, one of the Seattle colleges, which is usually termed as a community college, for the first and second year of your 4-year education. So you'll attend for the year 1 and year 2. You'll transfer to oftentimes a state or private college. So that might look like the University of Washington or Wazoo on the state side. And then on the private side, it would be something like Seattle University for year 3 and year 4. After you've completed year 3 and year 4, you go ahead and you graduate, and then you start to pursue your career. Or if you're looking to do additional education in the form of a master's degree or a specialized degree like a law degree, you would move on to that particular area of your life. If you're looking for something that's a little bit more hands-on and direct to something that you would like to be working in, there's also the professional training side of things. So you would attend the Seattle colleges for as little as 1 term, which oftentimes looks like 3 months, to up to 2 years, depending on the program you are interested in. After that happens, you graduate and you take that education and go directly into the field that you were studying in. You were learning hands-on skills while you were doing professional training in the professional technical field to be able to work and have a career in that area. There are a number of different programs that sometimes actually end up being sorted through the different college campuses. So what you're going to see is that every college campus, North, Central, and South, all have an associate's transfer degree. That means that every college would have an associate's of science, an associate of arts, or an associate of business, which is again the year 1 and year 2 of a 4-year education. So if you are looking for that sort of generalized pathway, every college offers it. It's up to you to decide which college works best with your lifestyle and maybe even physically where it's located and if that works into your particular schedule a little bit easier. We also have those professional technical programs that I talked about, and these are the ones that tend to be a little bit more divided by campus. So something like fire science is what you would do to prepare for a career as a firefighter. That's a very, very particular set of instruction and education to go to a very particular field, right? You don't get your start of your education in fire science to transfer into a university to study English or business. You are very directly applying those skills and the education in the fire science field, namely being a firefighter. The same thing happens for things like our EMT program, the pharmacy tech program, our real estate program. Those are all only based at North Seattle College, and they are very specific to North Seattle College. So if that is a pathway you're interested in, that's going to be the college that you want to pursue. At Central, again, you'll see the first 2 years of that 4-year pathway through your associate's degree listed here. And then we have some of the more specialized programs. So again, things like carpentry, dental hygiene, maritime and marine technology are offered through Seattle Central, but are located at the Marine Education Center over in Ballard. There's additional things like respiratory care that you might be interested in if you're looking at a medical career, surgical technology, IT networking. These are classes that are available specifically to Seattle Central College. And then at South, again, year 1 and year 2 of that 4-year pathway, that associates to transfer. And some of our more hands-on, sort of more well-known trades are available through the South Campus. So things like automotive technology, aviation maintenance. If you are looking to have a career working on airplanes, you're going to need a very, very particular education to understand what you're doing. A car mechanic does not go on to work no training on an airplane. So if you are looking at working on an airplane, aviation maintenance is a fantastic program. Oops, sorry. And many of our students end up getting hired out by Boeing, by SeaTac, Alaska Air sometimes hires them. We are very lucky to be in the center of a lot of aviation technology in the Seattle area. So those are definite opportunities for really well-paying careers that have a very specific hands-on education. There are also, if you notice, things like heavy diesel or welding, which might be a little bit more familiar if you're more familiar with different types of hands-on trades, right? So working with your hands, problem solving kind of on the daily. These are great opportunities for really strongly paying jobs that are available through very particular types of education at the Seattle colleges. We also have a couple of different types of resources available through the colleges that are intended to support students. So things like student life, if you're interested in meeting other students with similar shared interests, you would do that through our student life club. Tutoring is available to our students who need that additional academic assistance. Academic advising through your retention specialists. We have counseling centers for our students who are interested in getting some access to some mental health services. Each of our campuses has a counseling center in which you can solicit some services from the counseling department and maybe get some additional help with your mental health if that's something that you're looking into. Something I'm highlighting is going to be our disability services. If you are a student who has used disability services through your high school in the past, we're going to go over some of the different types of requirements that are expected of the college that might be a little bit different from what you expect as a high school student. Again, things like the library and e-learning services for our students who are going to be doing some classes completely online. Career services is a really strong program that we have through all of the colleges that sometimes gets a little underutilized by our students. So as we move into the disability support services, I want to highlight this by saying if you currently have a 504 or an IEP, it's not automatically going to carry to the Seattle colleges when you apply to the Seattle colleges. You're going to need to submit documentation to qualify for additional support. And additional support can mean a lot of things. Whatever accommodations you have in high school, you might not get a directly translated accommodation at the colleges, but there are different types of supports, including things like test accommodations, so additional time. Maybe you need to take your test alone. Note takers and scribes, if you just need a little bit of additional help with your note-taking ability, or like you need some additional assistance with getting through your lectures, one-on-one tutoring, information for alternative formatting, including Braille and audiobooks, sign language interpreters, as well as another host of other services that you could access. It's just a matter of contacting the Disability Support Service office at your intended campus, so North, Central, or South, and ensuring that you have what tools you need to succeed at your academic goals. And that means that you have the test time that you need. That means that you have the resources you need to be able to pass your classes, to be able to succeed in whatever educational goals you have while you're with us at the Seattle colleges. There are a couple of program milestones that are really important to note. We use the term milestones. They can also be considered deadlines, but the reason why we use milestones is because each particular deadline that you see here allows you access to completing the next. So you'll see February 1st located here on this particular milestone for our promise application and our college admissions application. We were just provided an extension, which means that our new deadline is going to be March 1st. So we have an additional month for students who are interested in accessing the program to go ahead and sign up. The promise application tells us that you're interested in the program. The admissions application tells us which college you would want to use the program at to access your free tuition. You'll also see FAFSA and WASFA here. It is required for every student who's applying to Seattle Promise to apply to a FAFSA or a WASFA. You can only do one, so you're going to do the one that best fits your circumstances. There is a fantastic questionnaire that is on the WASFA website that tells you which one you'll need to complete, and I'm going to really recommend students to take a look at that. The FAFSA and the WASFA are going to ensure that students who need or who have requirements for their it is going to show that students who have any need financially are going to have those financial needs met as best as possible through the school's ability. That means that sometimes students are eligible for more money than Seattle Promise can provide for tuition, and we want to ensure that students access as much of the funding as available to them. If you do not receive financial aid from a FAFSA or a WASFA, that is not a problem either. It is just required that you apply. If you do not receive money from FAFSA or WASFA through usually an award letter from the school, Seattle Promise will still ensure that your tuition is fully paid. All that is required is that you complete one of these. You'll want to complete your financial aid file after that. So after you've submitted your FAFSA or your WASFA, it gets reviewed by the school. The school takes a look, offers you an award based off of what has been offered in your FAFSA or WASFA. Seattle Promise will be tucked into that award so that you can see kind of what's going on. And that's going to be due by August 1st. So something to know is that each of these deadlines build on each other. If you do not apply for the program, it doesn't matter if the school receives your financial aid application, because you will have missed the milestone that tells us you are interested in the program. So you have to tell us you're interested in the program. You have to give us your financial aid application at the college of your choice, and then you have to complete that financial aid file. These are all requirements as you move through this process. We have two events that are super important for students to know. It is required that students attend at least one Readiness Academy, so that is going to be in May or June, where we get you registered for your classes, and then a summer bridge. So a summer bridge is like our orientation day, where we get you accustomed to the college culture of where you'll be attending. We've done this both in person and online as we've needed to through the pandemic to navigate the needs that our students have. We also ensure that students begin their time as a full-time college student when they get to the fall after graduation. So after you graduate from high school, you want to make sure that you are a full-time college student, which is a minimum of 12 credits. On average, our students take 15. 15 credits also often means per quarter, you are taking about 3 college level classes. So I'm going to take a break right here and see if there are any questions about the program specifically. And then I'm going to go into a couple of basic sort of tips and tricks as you apply to the Seattle Promise program to ensure that you are moving through the application process as easily as possible. If there are any questions, let's take a quick break. It doesn't sound like there are any questions at the moment. So we're going to go through our deadlines. The overall process that we just talked about sort of looks like this, right? After you complete one part of the milestone, you want to be considering that next stage. So let's say you've completed the promise application to let us know that you're interested. Great. The next step is definitely to start working on the application. You don't want to wait for us to be prompting you to do this. We want to ensure that you understand that you need to be moving through this process as quickly as possible, okay? The idea is the sooner you get all of this paperwork done, the more time you have in case something comes up later on in the process. There might be a question about your FAFSA or your WASFA that we have to address, and we're going to be there to help you, but the more time we have to help you, the easier this process is as a whole. So we're going to talk about a couple of the tips and tricks about applying to the Seattle Promise program, namely when you start the college application. So you'll start by doing the Promise application itself. That, again, is the program application telling us you're interested in the program. And then we're going to go into talking about the college application. So no matter what, as you're applying to the school and as you're applying to the program, you want to make sure that you are using the same information across every platform you are putting in. So that means that as you apply to Promise, as you apply to the Seattle College, as you apply to FAFSA or WASFA, all of your applications should match your government issued ID. So that means your name, your birth date, if you have a social security number or an ITIN, your sex assigned at birth, and your gender marker on your ID are all pieces of information that are super important, and we want to make sure they match whatever documentation you have. We were always going to respect the name that you request that we use for you and the pronouns that you request that you be called by. So that is something that we will keep in mind as we consider all of this information. This information just needs to be uniform across all of your different types of documentation so that none of the information or none of the applications gets lost or we have to make any edits, okay? If you are applying to college just in general this year, you want to make sure that you use the same email address for every single college-related application. So that's going to be the colleges that you are applying to, your financial aid application, it's going to be your Promise application. You want to make sure at minimum you are checking whatever email you lock down on this thing at least once a week. If you are not checking once a week, you might miss official notification from the program, from the college, and those things are the official, if you've been emailed by the college or the program, you are considered officially notified. So that means things like deadline reminders, requests for more information, step-by-step instructions, if there might be an additional process that we're trying to make sure you understand, they're all going to go to your email. So please be sure to check it regularly. Something to highlight is that you do not need to be a US citizen to go to college, especially using Seattle Promise. But if you are asked for a social security number, please be sure to include it, and please be sure you understand and remember exactly what it is. You want to make sure if you write down a social security number, it is correct and accurate to the social security number that you were given on your documentation. It becomes very complicated to make those fixes if you need to go in and fix your social security number. You'll end up having to do a lot of going to different offices to ensure that everything looks correct, okay? If you don't have a social security number, then you are still welcome to apply. So if you're undocumented, you are still welcome to apply to Seattle Promise and to the Seattle colleges. Go ahead and just leave the social security field blank or enter all zeros. I'll stress that if you do have a social security number, it is a really quick way to link all of your records correctly, even if there might be a typo somewhere else. Social security numbers can be really sort of helpful in identifying where your individual record might be or what might be going wrong with it. So please be careful of those typos. And finally, I'm going to stress this. You want to keep all of your usernames, passwords, security questions, and other login information saved somewhere safe. So, I mean, Ms. Tiffany and I tell this to students every year, but it does not always get followed in terms of our advice. And our advice is to write this information down and save it where you save your important documents. Just because you might be doing this with your parents or your guardians now does not necessarily mean that you won't have to do most of this alone one day. So if you have your FSA ID, you have your passwords to get into your FAFSA or WASFA accounts, you want to make sure you know exactly what they are and that they are somewhere safe and secure but easily accessible. Because there may come a time where you're across the state or maybe even across the country where you're completing your FAFSA or your WASFA on your own, and you're just calling you're calling home for additional information, but the majority of the work will be done by you. So please make sure you are saving all of this information somewhere safe. Getting locked out of your FAFSA or WASFA account is not fun, and it takes a long time to get back into it. All right, and the last thing I'm going to note is that if you are applying for college, or you are applying for Seattle Promise, it must be the high school senior who is completing the application for themselves. Family members should not complete the application on behalf of a student. This has happened in the past, and it can get kind of messy because a lot of notifications will go directly to the email that was given on the student's application. So the student has to be the person who is signing up because they have to be the ones receiving the information about what steps are required of them as they move through this process. Those are going to be the main concepts as we move through applying for Seattle Promise. Are there any questions about that? Okay, it sounds like there aren't any questions about that. So if you need to contact me, you need to access anything about Seattle Promise, I am at the College and Career Center with Miss Tiffany on Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. So I'm now here at Garfield 3 days a week. And I am accessible either by dropping into the College and Career Center or by shooting me an email. So my email is Lee, L-E-E dot Westrick, W-E-S-T-R-I-C-K, at Seattle Colleges with an S, .edu. It's super important that you get in contact with me if you're having any trouble anywhere along this process, and I'm just here to help you out. Keeping in mind that we are coming up on that March 1st deadline for Seattle Promise applications and Seattle College's applications as well. So that's going to be our extension. We will not be accepting any additional applications after the March 1st deadline. So please be sure that you're getting this in quickly, and hopefully you're also already working on your financial aid application. Okay? But that will be all for us today here talking about Seattle Promise.
And thank you so much, Lee, because I know this is a ton of information and this is going to really help a lot of our students. So this session, just as a quick heads up, it acts as an info session as well as a workshop. So I want to, again, thank Lee for his time. We're both going to stay on this line for anyone that has any additional questions. And we're going to, keep this thing going. Like, I'm very excited we were able to have a series inclusive of Seattle Promise. Last year, we had about 200 or so applicants from our senior class. So it's definitely a big deal here at our school. And I really hope that this information can help you complete an application and get some information that's good for you, either once you hit senior year or now that you're entering second semester of senior year. So thank you all so much. I'm going to stop the recording now.